Steven Seagal's journey to fame began in Lansing, Michigan in 1952, before he moved to Fullerton, California, as a young boy. Childhood struggles with asthma and frailty could have limited him, but instead they pushed him toward martial arts. At a time when Western audiences were more familiar with karate or judo, Seagal became captivated by Aikido, a Japanese discipline that was relatively unknown in the US. His passion for the art form led him to Japan in the early 1970s, where he made history as the first foreigner to open and operate an Aikido dojo. His time in Japan not only solidified his status as a martial artist, but also deepened his connection to Japanese culture. With fluency in Japanese and a reputation for skill, Seagal was now poised to make the leap to Hollywood. The Hollywood breakthrough. Action hero status. Seagal's transition from martial arts instructor to Hollywood star was a combination of skill, timing, and sheer charisma. Working in Los Angeles as an Aikido teacher and personal bodyguard to Hollywood agents, he caught the attention of industry figures, including agent Michael Oiz. Recognizing Seagal's aura and talent, Oiz encouraged him to pursue acting, a decision that proved to be a game changer. His breakout role came in 1988 with the film Above the Law, where he portrayed Nico Toscani, a former CIA operative turned cop. The film's modest success, earning $18.9 million in the US, marked the beginning of Seagal's rise. Subsequent films like Hard to Kill, 1990, Marked for Death, 1990, and Out for Justice, 1991, solidified his reputation as a tough, silent, and invincible action hero. Under Siege, the pinnacle of action stardom. By 1992, Steven Seagal had achieved the peak of his career with Under Siege. The film, which starred Seagal alongside established actors like Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey, became an international sensation, grossing over $156 million worldwide. Set aboard a battleship, Under Siege showcased Seagal's unique fighting style, which combined his Aikido background with a calm and brooding presence. Unlike his contemporaries, such as Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone, who relied on muscular explosions of violence, Seagal's martial arts-based approach offered a smooth, precise, and controlled fighting style. This contrast won him legions of fans, and for a time, Seagal became one of the most recognizable action stars of the early 1990s. However, this success would prove to be short-lived as new challenges began to emerge. The image versus reality. The myth behind the star. As Seagal's career soared, so did the myths surrounding his persona. Hollywood, with its obsession for larger-than-life figures, gave Seagal a platform to construct an image that often blurred the lines between reality and fiction. One of his most enduring claims was his supposed ties to intelligence agencies, suggesting that he had trained CIA operatives and worked with clandestine organizations. This aura of mystery served to enhance his tough guy persona, but investigations later revealed little to back up these stories. Seagal also embraced tales of exotic heritage, from Mongolian to Native American ancestry, further building a persona of a worldly and enigmatic figure. His emphasis on Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, and environmental causes added layers to his image, but they were often viewed skeptically by critics who questioned the authenticity of these claims. This carefully constructed myth-making, however, would later backfire. The decline begins. Seagal's struggle with reinvention. As the action movie landscape began to shift in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Seagal's brand of martial arts films started to feel outdated. The rise of high-tech espionage thrillers and superhero franchises such as The Matrix, 1999, and X-Men, 2000, signaled a new era in action cinema, one that left Seagal's traditional action hero style behind. Studios grew increasingly hesitant to back his projects, and he found himself relegated to lower-budget films like Exit Wounds, 2001, and Half Past Dead, 2002, both of which failed to reignite his mainstream appeal. As Seagal's box office dominance waned, he turned to direct-to-video releases like Out for a Kill, 2003, and Belly of the Beast, 2003, which suffered from lackluster writing and diminishing production values. Despite his best efforts, Seagal's once promising career began to fray at the edges. Reality TV, Seagal's last attempt at relevance. In 2009, Seagal made a surprising leap into reality television with Steven Seagal, Lawman, a show that followed him as a reserve deputy sheriff in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. The series garnered initial interest, as fans were curious to see the former action star in a real-world law enforcement role. However, doubts about the authenticity of the show quickly emerged. While Seagal was indeed commissioned as a reserve officer, the extent of his actual law enforcement duties was called into question. Critics labeled the show as more of a gimmick than a genuine portrayal of Seagal's second life. The program ran for 3 seasons, but was ultimately canceled due to a combination of declining viewership and controversies surrounding Seagal's personal life. The show's failure marked a turning point, as it highlighted the difficulties Seagal faced in trying to reinvent himself in an industry that had moved on without him. The rise of accusations. Scandals emerge. As Seagal's career continued to falter, his personal life became a subject of intense scrutiny. Allegations of misconduct and controversy began to overshadow his once glamorous image as a martial arts hero. These scandals, which were unrelated to his professional life, began to dominate the headlines and contributed to his declining public image. For years, Seagal had been seen as a tough, invincible character on screen, but the reality was far more complex. Accusations ranged from personal misdeeds to reports of unethical behavior, and these issues compounded the growing sense that the man who had once embodied strength and discipline had become a shadow of his former self. The public's perception of Seagal started to shift from admiration to skepticism, further tarnishing his legacy. Fading into obscurity. Seagal's attempts at revival. After the cancellation of Lawman, Seagal's attempts to reclaim his place in the entertainment industry seemed increasingly futile. He made occasional cameo appearances in films and television, but they were often seen as nostalgic gestures rather than genuine comebacks. Seagal also participated in international productions and promotional events, trying to remind fans of the iconic action hero he once was. However, his reluctance to acknowledge how much his image had aged left him at odds with the changing landscape of Hollywood. While other action stars found ways to reinvent themselves, Seagal remained entrenched in his outdated persona, unable or unwilling to adapt to the demands of a new generation of audiences. A fallen icon. The final years. By the 2000s, Steven Seagal had become a cautionary tale of the dangers of fame and myth-making. Once a dominant force in action films, his later years were marked by personal scandals, career missteps, and a growing irrelevance in the public eye. Attempts to revive his career through reality TV, cameos, and international ventures only highlighted the disparity between the star he once was and the man he had become. The public's perception of Seagal was no longer defined by the tough guy image he had carefully cultivated, but by the complexities and contradictions that lay beneath the surface. The tragic fall from grace of Steven Seagal serves as a reminder that fame can be fragile, and that even the most beloved icons can eventually fade into obscurity.